Welcome to episode 120 of the Guardian 1 podcast. We record live Thursdays at 8 p.m. Pacific, 11 Eastern, right here on twitch.tv/Guardian 1 Network. My name is Remy, and tonight I am joined by Agrios.
Greetings, Guardians!
Sharks.
Stop whining! Destiny 2's 2017!
And Gray.
You know, all I can think of is that one quote in our chat, or no, it was on the YouTube videos. It said, "Why is Sharks always screaming like a madman?" Good evening, everybody.
We're going to be talking about all things Destiny, but first, housekeeping.
Hello, Guardians. Thank you for listening to the podcast, however it is that you are choosing to listen. Be sure to follow Guardian1 on Twitter at G1net. That's G, the number 1, N-E-T. In addition, be sure to check out the Guardian1 website at guardian1.net. If you want to send us an email, you can send it to feedback@guardian1.net. We also have a Budgie.net forums group. We utilize the forums for both comments and feedback, so be sure to join the conversations going on there. Big thank you to all those currently in the Twitch chat. As Remy said at the top of the podcast, you can watch the show live at twitch.tv/Guardian1 Network. We broadcast every Thursday at 11 p.m. Eastern, 8 p.m. Pacific. If you can't catch the live show, you can always find the podcast on iTunes, as well as upload it to the Guardian 1 YouTube channel at youtube.com/Guardian1 Network. Guardian 1 is a proud member of the Guardian Radio Network, so be sure to check out the Guardian Radio Network website at theguardiansofdestiny.com. There you'll find all of the different podcasts as part of the network, including the flagship podcast Guardian Radio. They broadcast every Monday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern, 5:30 p.m. Pacific on twitch.tv/Guardian Radio. You can also follow their Twitter account at Guardians of D and their YouTube channel, youtube.com/Guardians of D. Other podcasts that are part of the Guardian Radio Network include Ghosts and Echoes, a podcast that contains a bit of fan fiction and audio versions of the Grimoire cards, as well as the Destiny lore-focused podcast called Focus Fire Chat. Once again, thanks for joining us on the podcast. I'll see you again next week.
Alrighty. Very cool. This week I got to play with River. We did the Wrath of the Machine hard mode, and we almost beat it. We very, very nearly beat it. And it was a great time. I had a great time hanging out with him. And, about 25 minutes in, I thought, what would be really great is if we did an interview with River. Like, here he is. Here's our opportunity to hang out and chit-chat. But there's a lot of communication that is required in Wrath of the Machine. So it's... and this was his first time through, and only the second time he's done the raid. So really focusing on the task at hand was really important. But it was really cool to get to hang out with him. And some people, when they have a certain amount of time allotted, either because they have work or responsibilities outside of these video games, they oftentimes have enough. They give themselves a big enough bumper to where they're able to say, oh, I had a good time, but, I really got to go. Maybe we'll finish this another time. Maybe we'll play again next week. And River pushed his time out so far. He's like we were in the winning run. We were in the winning run against the second phase of Axis. He had not even 10%, 15% life left. And he said, hey, I got to go. And then that was it. He just dropped right out of the game and right out of chat. And it was funny, and it was also sad. We were so close. We almost had him there. And so I'm really hoping that we get another chance to play. I still have a couple of things in my book that I need to do that I would really like to get done on the Xbox, and a couple of those have to do with Wrath of the Machine. But I had a really good time. Gray, did you have a good time?
Yeah, I had a good time as well. We were at the last damage phase. We were making really good progress. Everybody was gelling, because you kind of, when you're with a new team, you reach that point at which everybody knows what the other person's going to do and how the team is going to operate, and you're very comfortable. And it takes a little while to get there with each new mechanic that you're trying to sort out with the team. And we'd been at it for a couple hours, and we were coming up on getting to that place. And then, it's like something happened at River's house, and Xbox got ripped out of the wall and thrown in the closet. And the team is like, whoa, I hope he's okay. And then he did. Right, he sent us a message later saying, oh, yeah, I just had to go real quick. So, but it was a good time. I hope we can do it again soon.
Yeah, I'd like to set up like a regular thing. I don't imagine that the Mondays are going to work like that because he works and Gray, you work. But it would be nice. I would like to have a regular running crew on the Xbox. I mean, I'd like to have a regular running crew on the PlayStation, but getting one up on the Xbox is a bit tougher of a task. But yeah, like I feel like what happened was like River's playing the game, right? And he's like in some kind of like cabin on the beach, and he looks out the window and he sees a tsunami, like a 70-foot wave coming towards him. These things, they don't move super fast, it's not like a jet or something, but he knows he's in danger, and he still tried to finish up. And then he's like, "Oh, I gotta go!" Right as that wave was just overtaking him. So, and so at least he said something to us. But it was a great time. I'm starting to come around to the new Hollow River. It's what it is. It just throws me off because I recognize his voice. It's like in the Lego Movie. Nick Offerman plays the Metal Beard. And like I recognized his speech patterns or the way he was saying certain things, but they like sped up his voice. They're not sped it up, but they like changed the pitch. They increased the pitch on it. And so I was like, well, but this is not Nick Offerman's register. So that's what bothers me. But so for this episode, we're just going to have River doing his little dance right there below me. And it's really the best. Sharks says that this is my favorite Destiny video, and it really is. It was unexpected, He's like, "Oh, I did an unboxing video," and I was like, "Okay, cool." And then right before he does this amazing dance routine, he says, "Okay, let's just get down to business." And then it goes into a dance video, and it's just, I don't know, it's brilliant. It's brilliant. All right, why don't we get to some Destiny conversation? There's a lot to talk about. There's a lot to dissect. What say we throw it right to Agrios and see what you've got going on for us, or is it too early in the show?
No, I'm more than happy to dig right in. There's a lot to get through. Hopefully, I summed it up in a nutshell pretty good for us, with the help of my internet friends over at Reddit. Stole all their shit.
Well, I don't even blame you, because that there's people who are just checking and double checking and triple checking everyone else's work. So even the tiniest bit wrong or omitted, and you have 10 people swooping down on you to correct you. So there is no better place to get your news.
It's the hive mind.
It is the hive mind.
So let's start with the main point here. Destiny HotFix 2.5.0.2 lands Tuesday, February 14th at 10 a.m. Pacific. This past Wednesday, Josh Hamrick and Greg Ping joined us via the Bungie Twitch stream to preview it. Try to be short and sweet with the most important things, the most important points that we're going to want to get into and talk here. The weapon changes, the weapon balance. Sidearms blatantly said no changes. Now, before we even dig into this, let me just say that this is not a complete list. Bungie has said that there are things they did not discuss. They mentioned changes to certain hot items that the community was looking for changes for, that they didn't, as things they specifically didn't discuss that were going to change, such as Shinobu's Vow, the Young Wolf's Howl sword. Hopefully they're going to make that better. And a number of other things. But as for the things we know are happening, like I said, sidearms, they said there were no changes to. Shotguns, they significantly decreased magnetism and turned off aim assistance when firing from the hip. They decreased mid-air accuracy, removed all precision damage from shotguns, 20% buff to shotgun damage in PvE to make up for that lack of critical damage. The Chaperone and Universal Remote will still do precision damage because they were exotics designed around part of that function. Aim down sight time takes 25% longer now for shotguns that have the rangefinder perk. They removed the agility decrease when wielding a shotgun that they added during one of their more recent weapon balance updates. So that your agility is back up to the normal it was in year 1 with a shotgun. For pulse rifles, they reduced the rate of fire for low-impact pulse rifles, that's the Clever Dragon and the Grasp of Malak, by 7.7%, or what appears to be about 1 frame. Because it's very important to remember, with all these changes, they still can only happen at 30 frames per second. So the information is going to be delivered at X number of frames per second. So if the changes are small enough, it might not even change the way the game operates most of the time, because the frames at which the game takes place actually have an impact on that. Base flinch from pulse rifles and high caliber rounds on pulse rifles were both reduced. The pulse rifles across the board had their base flinch reduced. Grasp of Melloc and Clever Dragon have had their magazine size reduced by 6 shots. Clever Dragon magazine reduced from 30 to 24 and 24 to 18 with brace frame. Increased rate of fire for high-impact pulse rifles by 5.3%. The Messenger, Spare Change are examples of those. Pulse rifles have had their in-air accuracy increased. So I guess encouraging a little more mobility with the gun. To be clear, just a note on high caliber rounds, since I mentioned it being reduced specifically on pulse rifles. As well as that happening, they mentioned that it had been fixed for other weapons for which it was bugged. They didn't really specify exactly what weapons had that fixed for, but it was recently proven in the community that high caliber rounds appeared not only to not function, but to be detrimental to the performance of scout rifles. So I imagine that was included. Now, the question would be whether they included hand cannons in that, because its effect on hand cannons seemed negligible, if at all. It was hard to tell with just the variance of the way the hand cannons fire, and there are already issues with ghost bullets, how effective high caliber rounds were, but it didn't seem to change much, if anything. So it will be be seen if they were affected by the high caliber round change there. For auto rifles, they increased base damage of the low rate of fire auto rifles such as Soros Regime, Shadow Price, Vanquisher, and they increased the critical multiplier from 1.25 to 1.3. Auto rifles have had their in-air accuracy increased. This is a welcome change to me. It's going to bring back fond memories of year 1 Destiny. High impact auto rifles were without a doubt my original Destiny go-to, and I'm excited to see how this affects everything, how it shakes up the Crucible, because auto rifles were by a landslide the most used primary in year 1 by everybody, according statistically. And I do have a little bit of a fear that with no nerfs to Soros Regime's current state, when adding these buffs to it, we may be putting that into the new Clever Dragons.
I'll take it.
Before we get into, do we want to discuss what we have so far before we get into hand cannon changes? Or should I just finish off the list?
Just finish off the list.
Okay. So, hand cannons, they significantly increase the initial first shot accuracy back to year 1 values. However, they reduce the base range by 5 meters. This affects the aim assistant and damage drop-off. It was explained by a developer previously that although we see separate range stats and such on the gun, and even the secret stats we can see separately, the range stat, the aim assist stat, and the I forget which one, but there's 3 of them that are all tied together intrinsically. And anytime you move any one of those 3 stats, it actually moves all of them, at least slightly. So the current maximum damage fall off a hand cannon, the current currently at maximum damage fall off, hand cannon damage gets reduced by up to 50%. It will now reach further to 33% of the base damage at the maximum fall off distances. So previously, if you could hit them, worst case scenario, you'd do 50% of the damage that it would do point blank. Now, worst case scenario, it's going to do only 33% of that damage at the farthest ranges you can hit somebody. No changes were made for the bloom on spamming shots. You still have to pace your shots. Bloom being the spread of the bullets as you fire more rapidly. High caliber rounds now affects hand cannons. So, scout rifles had their in-air accuracy increased. High caliber rounds now affect scout rifles. So I must have missed this. I pulled this off a list previously, unless this is a mistake, and I don't think it is. I didn't hear the actual notation during the presentation that high caliber rounds specifically will be affecting hand cannons. I said a little earlier in the broadcast that was in question still, but I missed it on my own list. So.
Yeah, I don't know that I heard that either. Oh, okay.
Yes,
so now
I don't know if it's an error on here or not, but I don't remember hearing it during the stream myself. That's why I said that previously, and then I just noticed it on this list here. But I mean, this is compiled by Reddit. I'd be highly surprised if it weren't actually in there.
They said overall everything that high caliber rounds were being fixed. They didn't specify every gun.
Okay,
right, well,
so what I said earlier may be actually accurate. Then I think maybe people are taking a bit more liberties than necessary here. Do you agree with me, Sharks? Okay, good. I'm glad I felt that way. Okay.
Okay, so why don't you give us your thoughts on these weapon changes, Sharks?
My thoughts on these weapon changes. Okay. All right. First off, I'm actually kind of surprised that they didn't really change all that much, and that I think that just kind of blew my mind. And to say that they weren't going to nerf, they literally said this, they were not going to nerf shotguns, and technically that's a lie, because that's exactly what they did in order to get shotguns. It was people not being pissed off being shot in the face by a shotgun. Hopefully, their way of changing the way shotguns are is a
devil's advocate. They didn't really reduce the power of shotguns, just where they were powerful, just where you could use that power, really.
Okay, well, so a nerf is changing a weapon's damage or perks that will affect the way it's going to be used in the Crucible or in PvE, and completely remove the aim assist. That is a nerf, okay?
Unless you're ADSing.
What?
Unless you're ADSing, right?
Unless you're ADSing, right.
Right.
But, that's not how people use those shotguns. I mean,
if you have rangefinder, it's how you have to use it.
Right. Now, the other thing is they did something to rangefinder. I don't remember what it was that they said exactly how it was that they affected it.
It's slower to ADS.
Right. So is that not nerfing that too then? I'm just, okay, like, I don't even use shotguns. I'd rather snipe you in the face at 10 meters than use a shotgun at 30. All right, this is just my preference. But I'm saying is that Bungie said they were not going. Their whole point of this was to get everything else up and not, nerf another gun. And
I guess devil's advocates, what I'm saying is you could interpret the word nerf to mean I'm not going to just reduce the damage of this weapon. Because you can still one-shot kill Guardians in many circumstances, just different circumstances than you could previously.
Yeah, I don't know. Okay,
I'm just advocating like where Bungie might have been coming from with the term nerf.
What you're saying, I understand what you're saying. And they were trying to sell this as a as a good thing to us. Like, oh, it's, they were talking right away. They were talking about, okay, look, we'll jump in the air and you won't be able to one-shot these people anymore. And I'd say 60% of the time that these guys were jumping in the air, they were one-shotting people. Now, they weren't moving. I give you that. They weren't moving. I don't know. I'm just saying I was very surprised that it was how long was this stream? It was like a 40-minute, 50-minute stream. And probably half of it was based on the shotgun and what they did to it. And then the rest of it was kind of on hand cannons. I mean, I don't know. I
would agree with you, but I mean, the shotgun was obviously the most used to kill people currently in the Crucible, and probably deserve the most speaking space because of that.
You know what, though? It's not going to matter. It's not going to matter because they didn't go far enough. They didn't go far enough. It's still going to be the go-to. Like,
you know what?
What?
You're right. Because when I read this, I was like, well, I don't even use my shotgun like that. I'm like, these changes aren't going to affect me. I'm like, I will still use my Matador exactly as I was before, and it will still be exactly as effective as it was before with these changes for me.
Well, okay. So we haven't gotten to something else that might change the amount of shotguns that are being used.
Yeah, there is another whole step to this. Yeah,
I'll wait till we get to that. Now, as far as the other things that they talked about, this is something else. Again, okay, I'm being very negative right now, and I don't mean to be, but it's very hard not to, because they big huge thing. Oh, we're gonna do this huge change, and we're gonna stream it. We're gonna talk all about it, and they did not talk about everything, and that bugs the shit out of me. All right, first off, they didn't change a lot of stuff. Right, they changed some things. Basically, they precision changed a few guns, okay, and they didn't even talk about all of it. And I don't know. It really got to me. It really got to me. I'm very interested to see what it's like on Tuesday, to see the actual patch notes and see everything that's been changed, and go in there and see how different it's going to be using these guns. But at present, I don't know. I don't think it's enough to enhance the amount of people that are going to want to come back and play, just with the few things that they did.
No, and I was pleased with the damage that I saw from the auto rifle. I felt like that was a pretty big uptick, but I also feel like I don't usually get that close to people when using even auto rifles. Like in this game, you have to maintain X amount of distance in order to not die. Agrios is shaking his head. You're a different player, though.
No, I'm gonna agree with Agrios. This is gameplay, because obviously I don't play the way you're talking, but I understand that you do. And so for a player that's going to play at that range, it is going to be, really what you're saying. But at the same, I don't play at that range. Like I snipe, and literally I will pull out my sniper at 10 meters. That's not a sniper range. These are the ranges you're saying you shouldn't be getting involved in. But that's what I do, and that's why I'm right in their face. So, but go on. I didn't mean to interrupt you. I'm just saying that there is another side to how people are playing that.
Well, what I'm saying is that I don't play at that range, so I don't even know if what I was seeing was a difference, because I don't hang out in that distance, that close of a distance. So
but don't you think with what they showed for the hand cannon drop off, that like if you were using hand cannons, which in this meta that we have right now, hand cannons are kind of like one of the go-to if you don't want to use something like Clever Dragon. If you've got that much drop off, that's going to really affect changes, don't you think?
Absolutely. I'm really excited about the drop off that was shown for the hand cannons, because I feel like they are mini snipers. They even discussed that on the stream. It's rough when you get, just picked off by a hand cannon from so far off. You know what else I really enjoyed was them showing the gameplay from the last word. I've fallen victim to the fanfare of just wham, 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 and I know that there was no skill there. They just held down the button, and I just fell down. I watched somebody try that, and they failed, and then they had to remember that they needed to aim their shots, and it was fantastic. That change right there is probably the one I'm most excited about, even though I don't use hand cannons, even though I still have my last word, but that's because I want to get chaperone. But watching those clips made me realize that if I die to a last word in the future after Tuesday, that it's going to be because that person for reals killed me. Like they paced themselves, they took their shots, and it was a good job. I'll have to give them a pat on the back for taking me out, because I will know it wasn't just an easy button kill.
Yeah, it's gonna be somebody that's skilled with the last word, because that, and I actually thought it was funny. I heard this afterwards that Josh Hammerich isn't even like a last word guy, like he wants to be, but he's not. And so I'm sitting there thinking, well, why are you the one showing the last word play? They should have really had somebody, but maybe there wasn't anybody in. Trying to think how Cosmo plays. Cosmo's a shotgunner. He might be a last worder. I don't know, but they should have had somebody that was really a last word player to really show what it's like. But I do think that the changes that they did on that will be very interesting to see. I'm pretty sure that there's going to be a lot of people whining about that one.
Gray, what was your takeaway from this stream?
So, full disclosure, I haven't had a chance to watch it yet, so I still need to go back. As I'm reading through the information that's come out since, and kind of thanks, Sharks, thanks. The information on Reddit and the changes as they've been listed out. Are they really removing a agility nerf when somebody's wielding a shotgun? Is that really
This bothered
true?
me as well.
They're going to make it so that they can actually move faster as they try to rush shotgun kill me.
Well, that's why I said, it's not entirely a nerf, because they just changed the ways they can one-shot kill you. Basically, I think they forced the ways that are effective to still one-shot kill you to be ways that are also more counterable than some guy jumping from a ledge over your head and blasting you without even having to aim at you.
I mean, one of my big criticisms in the last couple weeks in terms of weapon balance and gameplay is just that certain weapons at the ideal range of that weapon are not functioning, are not developing encounters that would be representative of that weapon. And I went into that into detail over the last couple weeks. That change right there, that's going to actually go in the wrong direction. That's going to mean that when I'm with my scout or with my pulse rifle, it's more likely they're going to close that distance and be able to shotgun me than less likely. If they used to, I didn't even know that they had an agility nerf when they were wielding a shotgun. I don't even know what it's going to be like knowing that that's being removed and what their agility is going to look like. That's going to be just one of my concerns about the change.
I think, was it the weapon update before the Taken King that happened, guys?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. I'm hoping that the decrease in precision damage affects what range at which they're able to do one-shot kills with shotguns. I'm hoping that damage that's no longer being attributed to it, maybe that was what was giving it enough to push it over the edge, that they could get such good range that enough of those shells packed within that certain range at which they're going to make impact could one-shot kill you. So you guys got to see the gameplay, and hopefully maybe they didn't show what one-shot range looked like, but that's kind of one of the things I'm curious to see on some of these high-range shotguns like Matador. Did that one-shot range with these slight damage adjustments and different things that they did that extend that out any?
Well, okay, so they didn't change the damage output on the shotguns at range.
There'd be no way. There's nothing they did that would make them give them more range. If anything, they'd have less range because they're not going to get any precision hits.
Yeah. Well, okay, but they're not getting precision hits, but unless you have the chaperone. The chaperone was the only one. They made a point to say
and
that
universal.
they're still going to get precision hits. They showed them. Now, of course, again, these are stationary targets that they were shooting at. They did do a match at the end of the stream, but it was really hard to gauge there in one match. But during the stream, they were running around the outside where the tree is, and the distances that they were shooting one-shotting headshots seemed just as far as they normally are. The only difference was that it was harder for them, and this is stationary targets, harder for them to hit these stationary targets in the head. If they hit them in the head, they were dead. But if they didn't, it was body shot damage, and then of course it was spread over time. And I think that was their biggest thing, what they were saying, what they did to shotguns, which is a nerf. Again, I'm going back to this, it's a nerf, is taking away the aim assist, will affect these, like, Titans with full armor and extended armor, however they're coming in and they're jumping in at you and they're shotting you instantly because they're just moving their cursor across the screen and one-shotting you because it's instant headshot. Now they're saying that, they're jumping in the air. It's going to be a lot harder for them to aim to get the headshot, so you're not going to get one shot like that, but you're still going to get the same amount of damage that you would before, is the way I understand.
They lose the aim assist, they lose the precision damage, it takes them 25% longer to ADS to try to hit you at that same range they could hit you at before even. First off, they can't do the maximum range before because if they were hitting precision damage at all before, now they need to be a little bit closer to still kill you. You know what I mean? Before what was their previous maximum range. Now, is it really a nerf though? Because now they can close the gap a little quicker though too.
Yeah, but if
that's what we're gonna have to kind of see.
Important, the longer range that they need because of all those nerfs, is it made up for so that overall the big picture isn't really a nerf, just a rebalancing of the weapon?
Well, in a rebalancing in a way that actually, like Remy said, probably doesn't do enough to change the experience of that gunplay in those encounters to make it actually shift the balance to where from range your pulse auto rifle is the better option against a rapidly closing shotgunner. I don't see that, and we'll see it in practice, but I don't see that the information on these adjustments is going to be enough to make that experience, that encounter, feel like it's going to end appropriately.
No, I don't think it's going to change that encounter when you're looking at the shotgunner down the hallway and you're about to challenge him or whatnot. What I think it's going to change is those, what the hell was that bullshit that just happened when that dude flew out of the corner of the screen and now I'm dead?
No,
that's the thing that bothers me though. If somebody gets a jump on me, I'm more okay with that than when I have a jump on somebody else and they can actually close a ridiculous range and shotgun me when I'm landing my shots. That's what I think is bullshit.
Well, I'm just talking really far away and in the air, as opposed to on the ground running at me full speed.
Okay, wait a minute. Okay, here's the thing I'm going to say. Okay, so looking at how they're changing this. Okay, and again, this is all based off of, their numbers, and what they were showing us was in a stationary environment. Okay, if they're not able to hit you in the head, because it is going to be damn hard for them to aim and run at you while you're moving back and forth, because if you're a good player, you don't stand still.
Aim assist.
Okay? You move. Okay, so then it was taking 3 body shots to I think it was taking 3 body shots. I'm pretty positive it was taking three body shots to kill somebody with a shotgun. Okay, and that's at that super close range. Okay, if they got to pull off 3 body shots, and if you use a high impact, I'm gonna use this gun because this is the gun that they're changing, right? And this is what they showed percentage wise. This was the quickest, and this is gonna be the new meta, by the way. If you use a high impact pulse rifle, you can get off 3 shots body shots and kill them first. If you use headshots, you're definitely going to kill them first.
Dude, I use my shotgun. I run up to the guy and like stick it down his throat and pull the trigger.
Okay, so I think that for the majority of the encounters with shotguns, it's going to go exactly the same. This is definitely not enough to deter people, especially because it's such a crutch. You know, like I know that if I was to have a weapon or a specific thing that I could do, a specific maneuver I could do that would end in me winning 9 times out of 10, I would be stupid to do anything else. And so for the people who rapidly close in on you and take out your life anyways, this is not going to affect them. I saw way too many times in that video of them one-shotting people who had full health at just too far range. Like when I saw them doing this, I kept thinking, what are you showing us? Because this is the gameplay that I'm used to. You know, like this didn't change, but I feel that it will change the ones where the people panic. What should we call it? You know, everyone calls the Fist of Havoc, the Fist of Panic. The guys who like, you're killing them and so they just blink straight up into the air. I think that those people are going to have the most difficulty with this change in the shotgun, because they're having that automatic lock either taken away or lessened. I think that's the only occasion, and I don't usually see them out of shotgunners. I see them maybe 1 out of 10 times, and that's, you know, and that's pushing it really. So I don't know.
And they mentioned changes coming to Blink as well.
Oh yeah, the idea that Blink will no longer, you won't be able to look at your radar while that's active. I feel like that's a really good change.
Well, we don't know that's the only change. That's what people have determined from watching the video is happening. Bungie actually said one of the things we didn't disclose anything about is Blink. Well, there will be changes.
One of the other things that they talk. Are we going into that?
Well, I haven't done any news yet. Once again changes that haven't happened yet.
Why don't we move along then, unless anyone else has anything they want to say?
1 second. Discuss something for a second. I need 1 second.
Okay, so based off of what you've seen, Remy, and obviously it's going to be hard for Gray to answer this question. What gun are you looking forward to most to using, if any?
You know, I'm really, like I was just saying, you know, if I have a gun or a specific maneuver that works for me, I'm less likely to want to change it up. The one thing I would like to do is try out some Suros Regime, but then that would be my exotic slot, and I wouldn't be able to have my Tress Zapper anymore. So it's, you know, I feel like I might try Shadow Price. I feel like that might be really cool. Maybe the Queen, or her... Damn, I can't remember what the Queen's auto rifle is, but it's a nice beefy one. Also, I've been playing around with the RE45. I really like the RE45. I have a couple of really good rolls on that one. The RE41. I'm going to be keeping an eye on that whenever they show back up at the gunsmith. So really, I'm going to give auto rifles a try. And with the amount of damage that I saw from the distance in that video, I feel like that will be a viable way to stop the rushing shotgunner, because honestly, it's just like Gray is saying, and he even said bullshit. Gray said bullshit. He's pissed. This is like the next thing we're gonna see is him, like, he's gonna just be sitting at his desk and he's gonna be like, "Hiya!" and just chop that motherfucker in half. But yeah, like I feel like, and this is what I want to see. I want to have, like, if someone runs up on me with a shotgun and I didn't see them coming, good on them, you know? But if I'm shooting them before they even see me and they turn and they run up on me and they kill me anyways, something is wrong. Something is out of balance. This should not have happened. I should have had a better chance of killing them. I wish that there wasn't one-shot kill from so far away. Like, it's still going to be a problem. It's just still going to be a problem.
Well, we talked about it, and lots of other people talked about this too. I wish they had buffed our damage, our defense, our armor, because I think that would have changed a lot. But obviously, that was not their intent. What about you, Gray? What's your gonna be go-to first weapon
Wait, 1 second. If they had buffed the armor, then that would be even harder to kill the rushing shotgunner.
No, but it would also be harder for them to kill you.
Yeah, I suppose. Gray?
Yeah, I'm hoping that the auto rifle buff is noticeable. I also haven't pulled out Suros in a very long time, and I mean Suros was a very viable weapon in year 1, and it was still viable, but not quite as strong in year 2. So I never really got to experience the low rate of fire, high impact auto rifle as a strong part of the meta. So I'm
viable is putting it extremely lightly.
So I'm looking forward to seeing what that experience more is like. But I still really like my Doctrine. I really do like my Doctrine, especially for situations where I'm more of a support player, trying to team shot the other Guardians that we're playing against. In Trials, that's what I do a lot. A lot of times I like to move with my team and use my
teammate is meat shields. Exactly. I'm always like, you know what though, but with like Sharks and Agrios, I'm like, get out of the way.
Yeah, that's funny. We actually use the meat shield metaphor quite a bit, but I like using my Doctrine to get the health down, to that team shot, that time to kill. I just find that because of how that weapon plays in my hands, it works really well when I'm team shooting. A lot of times on one-on-one encounters, maybe it isn't quite as strong, but when I'm moving with a pack, it seems like we're able to get enough hits in that we can take down people pretty effectively. Never was much a fan of hand cannon, so all that I see here is I'm hopeful that this will decrease some of the deaths that I have from hand cannons. And then scouts, are they saying that these changes with high caliber rounds affecting scouts is now this is going to be a positive for scout rifles? We're going to see that it's going to result in more flinch on people taking shots. So there's a number of scouts, even the Taken King raid scout. I'd be curious to see how that can perform in PvP after this.
Agreed.
Agrios, you were gone for this question. What's going to be the gun that you're looking forward most to trying in this new weapons balance with what we know so far?
I'm looking forward to the high impact auto rifles. Bit of year 1 nostalgia kicking in there. I'm looking at those as being an effective counter potentially for shotgunners and such too, with their headshot multiplier they currently have up, and the buffs that they're going to be receiving. That's going to be more effective than, like, say, Clever Jag at the closer ranges. And I still plan on running my shotgun. Like I said, these changes don't appear to affect me. I am definitely better with my shotgun than I am with my sniper rifle. And while sidearms are fun, I'm still just not as effective. And I don't think these changes are going to make me substantially less effective enough to make me want to actually change. Now, the special ammo economy may. In PvP, players will start matches with special ammo, but you now lose all special ammo upon death. Special crates spawn every 60 seconds. You previously spawned at 90 seconds. They reduce the radius of special ammo drops for teammates when you pick up the ammo, though, from 100 meters to 75 meters. 100 meters was ridiculous. 75 meters is still pretty ridiculous. So you're pretty safe.
I agree.
If you're on the part of the field with your team, you're in the radius. If you're on, like, clear the other side of the map in the middle of the enemy team, sure, maybe you're not in your team's radius anymore. But if you're in your team's, like, whole half of the map, you're going to be in the 75-meter radius for the most part. Players only start with special on the first round of elimination. Invective and Icebreaker are effective and will lose their ammo upon death, but still regenerate as normal. Sidearms still spawn with special ammo upon death. I mean, this is a huge, huge change. This is way more than the weapon changes. This is what I feel is going to shake up gameplay in the Crucible. I really, 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 really liked in the good old days, being able to switch up my second willy-nilly to adapt to my enemy. I rather enjoyed that part of Destiny. They effectively took that away a bit when they made their previous special ammo changes, that you lose all special ammo when you switch weapons, and I wasn't really a fan of that. I felt it took away my ability to adapt to other people, you know, who happen to be running the most effective weapon for the situation. Now, these changes don't make me happy because they don't add back in that ability, but they do level the playing field for the people who aren't adapters and just happen to have the right gun going into that match. After we both die once, we're both back on level playing field. If you want to switch up weapons in between your match, you can switch up weapons in between your match. You lost all your ammo anyway. So, I like the change, but I don't like the change. I like the change because you can switch the penalty of switching up to adapt to your enemies taken away, but you can't immediately effectively use how you tried to adapt because you have no ammo until that crate comes back up in so many seconds. They've almost made special ammo as limited as heavy ammo was in year one.
Right, I'm concerned about it. I'm concerned about the special ammo changes because I feel like it's going to be very easy for someone who, you know, very talented with a shotgun to kill everyone. Those people don't start off with special anymore, and then it will just be too easy to run the special ammo crates. Like, I feel like if you're already very good with it, so you're already not going to lose, then the only people who are missing out here are the ones who die because they're not going to have any to start with. Unless you're using a sidearm.
No way to take you down as long as you stay on top, right?
No,
exactly.
Wait a minute. Wait, you start a match with special.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And then you get killed and have none. And the guy who killed you still has one and picks up the heavy crate while you're dead. Then he kills a couple more dudes who have no special to kill him.
And then picks up special. I just feel like this is a snowball situation. This is going to be something that is going to spiral out of control. You know, it's feeding into people who are already good. This is just like trials. Oh, you're so good that you made it to the lighthouse? Here's some weaponry and gear that make you even more powerful than these noobs, than these plebeians.
Secondly, it's going to pull variety out of the game because I feel like the huge majority of players are going to be running Invective or Icebreaker as their secondary.
No way.
Especially now that Icebreaker has come back. I've died to Icebreaker several times.
You either sidearm an exotic somewhere else, or you're Icebreaker and Invective.
Right. What are your thoughts on this, Sharks?
Okay, so I understand where you guys are coming from with what you're saying as far as snowball effect, but you have to what was that?
Stone Temple Pilots.
No, you have to look at it in a different way. Okay, so when I'm playing a match right now, I will run around and I will take all the secondary. Okay, I will take secondary left, right, and center, and my goal is to take the secondary so that other players don't get it. That's an extra 90 seconds before they have to get it. Okay,
60 now.
That's okay, but the problem is right now with the way that the meta is that I don't know how many shots that these shotguns are having, but that's a lot of bullets that they already have, and it's one shot, boom, you're dead. Okay, so the theory is that now with these changes to shotguns, there's not going to be as many one-shot kills. They're going to have to waste their ammo. So that's why they're given the opportunity to go and pick up ammo every 30 seconds quicker than it was before. Okay, so they're still going to have to use a lot of ammo every time they pick up their thing to get these kills. So there's going to be less shotgun deaths in theory. Okay. The other thing is that you're going to be having people realize right away that secondary is a big thing. And really people should be playing that way now, but not everybody does, because a lot of people I don't know. I don't understand why people don't do this. Maybe it's because of the drop radius and people just aren't there going for it, and they figure, oh, somebody's going to go and get it, and they'll be able to go back and get it later. But you're going to have people camping and watching areas because that's where the secondary is, and you're going to want to make sure that the other team doesn't get that secondary. So that's going to cut down on the amount of secondary they have too. Then you're going to have people like me that are going to be pushing on their spawns, their areas, taking their secondary. That's going to drop their secondary even more. So I don't think you're going to get this huge snowball effect of people having lots and lots of secondary. There are going to be people that are going to play that game. Don't get me wrong. Like, I will play that game with my sniper. You know, when I see that there's an area clear, like, I can't think of it's the one that's in the gardens, and there's that huge sniper lane. Which one?
Okay,
Pantheon.
Okay, when we kill everybody on the other end, the first thing I do is even if they're not all dead, I rush down there if I see their secondary, take their secondary, and then get back over to my spot, because then I get my secondary too. So you're going to have play like that.
You know, but I feel like every sentence you said was exactly how I felt, but then you just came to a different conclusion. Like, every sentence you said was exactly what I was thinking, and then you're like, I don't think it's going to change much.
No, but wait a minute. You're saying that you're going to get shot in the face. You're not going to get shot in the face with shotguns, because the meta is going to be changing. People are not going to be using shotguns as much. Even though Agrios says he's going to use shotguns, what a majority of people are going to use is they're either going to use snipers, or because it's going to be one-shots, and it's a lot easier to aim assist with a sniper and then shoot you in the face with the shotgun that doesn't have aim assist, or you're going to be carrying around a sidearm or a fusion rifle. Fusion rifle is the same way. Or you're going to get a sidearm that you're going to get ammo all the time, and you don't even have to worry about the secondary. I think it's really going to change up everything with the way this ammo economy is going to be. To be quite honest,
I feel like what's happening is that there's a hole in the dike, right? And so all that's happening at this point is they just patched like the very corner. So okay, so let's say that it even takes down the shotgunners in the community by 25%. That's not a lot, but we're not looking at a big enough decrease. We're looking at like 20-something%. Close to 20% of shotguns used, down to 15%. I don't feel like this is still going to push it. I see your hand up. I want to say, so Destroyinator says, but if, say, less people have special, it promotes primary, i.e. longer range play, out of range, shoot the shotgunner. And I can definitely see that. But I feel like when I'm talking about it, like, there's two specific types of gameplay that are available in Destiny. There is loading up with public people, just randoms, and then there's loading up with a team. And I feel like if you're playing with a team, you're giving yourself so many more advantages than if you play solo. And for some reason, I usually play solo. Like, I'll hop into a game. I won't have to worry about inviting anyone along. And so I'm basically getting matched up with morons who just leave the green out. Unilala says, I pull green every time I see it. Me too. Even if I'm totally full, I don't want that other team running around to pick it up. But if there is green on my side and people are just running by it, well, number one, I know they're not using shotguns, so I know we're not winning that match. And number two, they're just handing it to the other team. So it's frustrating. Velvet says, I don't see a downside to adding some tactical play to Destiny. If guarding special or stealing special has value, then it adds team gameplay. And I agree with that. But again, I'm being matched up with idiots, or I'm just not playing with the team.
It makes the overall gameplay experience more fun and not less fun because I have less options to play with. Like, I don't want to feel like we talked about before that, like, crap, I got this stupid one-shot snipe because I walked around the corner here, and now I lost all of my special. I no longer have my shotgun. Now every time I walk out of the spawn, there's two shotgunners on either side of me shooting me in the head. Okay?
Yeah, I think Agrios brings
that experience. That's what I fear with this change.
That's exactly my thoughts.
What I hope for is what our Velvet says, but I don't expect that to happen. I don't necessarily expect it not to happen. I just don't necessarily. I have a bad feeling about it, so to speak.
Okay, so the problem that you guys are saying.
But one other thing I want to say real quick while I'm here, is I refuse to complain about them only nerfing shotguns a bit. Like you say, you're concerned it's not enough, Remy. I feel like they've way overstepped nerfs in the past and been like, oh, Saurus Regime's doing that many kills and they're doing so good. Let's make it so no one used those as that class of rifles ever again, the whole class, because of that one rifle. And now they're just taking their time, and I think they've learned something from those olden days, and I won't complain about them taking a baby step. They can always nerf it a little more.
Yeah, but that's what I said, that they said they weren't going to nerf it at all. But anyways, okay, no, wait. So what you guys are complaining about is that you don't like that you're being matched with people that don't play the game right. Okay?
Yes.
And I understand that, but okay, you can't use that argument. You literally can't. You cannot use that argument to say that changing ammo economy or changing the way this gun works or that gun works or anything else, that it's still going to affect the game. It's going to affect the game, and what's going to happen? What's going to happen is it's going to force you, Remy, to change the way you play. You still may be put up with 5 other complete idiots that aren't going to play any different than they ever have, because you are that unlucky and you're always going to be put in with those complete 5 idiots. All right, but you, because you are a Destiny fan. You know, you understand what Bungie's doing, what they're trying to do for teams out there, because they are trying to do this for what a group of 6-on-6 would really be, because you can't imagine what 12 complete separate minds not working together is going to be like in a PvP match, which is supposed to be a team sport. So what you are going to do is your whole goal is going to be make sure I pick up that secondary so that the other team doesn't get it. That's what you're going to be thinking. Just like you know that your goal in Rift is to protect that Rift, to make sure that Rift player doesn't come there, because that's how you play. So you're going to have to adjust the way you play.
Well,
but
wait a minute.
I don't think
you want to just pull special still?
Yeah, you do.
No. You want to guard the special to make sure your team gets it.
Doesn't your team get it if you pull it?
If they're alive and within 75 meters. And then they run over to it before the countdown timer expires to make it disappear.
So I have
a long ways away.
So I have a question then, because with all of this information, I feel like what this is doing is just pushing me further down the hole that I'm already in. Meaning, when I think about how I should change my gameplay, I'm thinking about how much I already have what I feel is a good meta for me. So, for instance, I'm a really big fan. Like, I want to use sniper rifles, and during Iron Banner for that one that said kill 25 people with a special weapon, I was always just trying to, basically sit around the corner and wait for people to walk out in front of me. But I feel like my meta right now, what I use is I use my DIS-47 for picking off snipers. Like, I will see them setting up down a lane, and I will work to pick them off or disrupt their scoping with my scout rifle, which is something I feel like is a good tactic. And also, I will sit on my trust zapper in case someone ends up rushing me. So I feel like this is already what I'm doing. So am I stupid for not trying to shake it up, or am I smart for having already this information or this in place?
You're neither. What you are is you're stubborn.
Am I?
You're stubborn because you won't change. Okay, I'm not criticizing you. I'm stubborn.
Doesn't need to change though. That's a good setup for the new meta.
Ask our Velvet J. I'm stubborn. I refuse to play the meta. Okay, so I don't use Clever Dragon. Maynard James gets so pissed at me. We will go into trials, and he goes, "Don't you have a Clever Dragon?" I go, "Yeah." He goes, "Why don't you use it?" Because I don't want to. I don't like that gun. He goes, but look at this. Watch me. And he goes and he like mows down people. And I was like, yeah, that's fine. You can use it. I'm going to use my slow-ass pulse rifle. And, you know, that's being stubborn, okay? If I wanted to go in, okay, I think that I'm good enough to up my tier with the way I play PvP if I played the meta. Exactly. 99% of the time, I wear 0 exotic armor, and I use 0 exotic guns. Okay? Why am I doing that? You know, if you listen to any of the streams, any of the big players out there, I'm hurting myself. I do it because I'm stubborn. I don't want to. You are not changing because you're stubborn and you don't want to. It's not a bad thing. It's just a fact.
But if you get a DIS-47 with high caliber rounds and stick to the Tress Zapper, that's probably a good setup for the new meta with your playstyle.
Probably.
Because the high caliber rounds are going to even further disrupt those sniper rifles. Like if you land a shot on a sniper rifle, he will never be able to land a shot on you as long as you continue to land shots on him with a high caliber round scout rifle if it performs the way they did back in Midas Day.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the way it should work. I feel like that's the direct counter. You know, like I started to look at these weapons and gear like magic cards. You know, like here, this is a specific set of details, and this in this situation is always going to trump this. Like, I feel like it's.
My high caliber round pulse rifle works like that on snipers. Like I can do exactly what you're saying to snipers, and they'll never land a shot at me again once I start hitting them with the clever dragon. Like there's no more shots they're getting off anywhere near me.
Now,
and instead of
here's what we have all wished, and this is really what Bungie would like, is they would like it where people come in with whatever they want, load out with whatever you want, and just go in there and have fun, and it all be very similar. Unfortunately, that's just not the way it works because there is always a meta. All right, so yeah, I mean, you either deal with it and do it, or you don't. That's really what it comes down to.
I just saw River dancing out of the corner of my eye. That was brilliant.
So I got a couple things I want to say on this. I totally agree with Agrios that this will result in people becoming frustrated because they are not able to use the guns that they want to use. Right? There's going to be a certain player base that, because they died early in matches, that they have a very low likelihood that they're going to be able to use special weapons, and that's going to frustrate them. So I'm worried that there could be a section of people who currently play in the Crucible that are going to be less likely to want to play in the Crucible. But it's kind of a balancing act, because there's also a percentage of people that don't want to play Crucible because they're dying too often by special weapons. And these adjustments likely will decrease the overall availability of special ammo, right? We're thinking that even though they're decreasing the time that it's spawning to 60 seconds, since you're always losing all of it every time you die, there's probably going to be less special ammo overall in each match that is effectively being utilized. So it's kind of a balance between the people who say, you know, I hate dying from all these special weapons, whether it's getting sniped all the time or getting killed by a rushing shotgunner. Now they might go back in and want to play in the Crucible, but knowing that they might not actually get to use special weapons that they want to use. So I'm curious. I'm not so sure which side it's going to fall on. The area that I think that this isn't going to matter too much, with the exception that we're just going to see less special weapons being used, is general Crucible, 6v6, even the 3v3 playlist. Anything outside of elimination, I think we're probably just going to see less special. Special is going to become special again, right? People are going to view it as actually something that's special, not just always available. I'm really worried about trials and elimination matches, because I'm thinking that's where this can really snowball, and it can snowball quick. Imagine the playstyle where you have 3 rushing shotgunners that win the first round, the first match. You know that other team that you just killed them have no special ammo. You don't have to worry about
either
being
do you, though. After the first round, no one has special ammo.
Yeah, special ammo
Seriously?
doesn't carry over in elimination.
Only if you die.
No.
No. That's not what it says here. It says Players only start with special on the first round of elimination.
Right? So you start with special. You have 6 shots. No, you have 5 shots because you're using the sniper I use. Wayland's whatever it's called. You have 5 shots. I headshot 3 people, kill 3 people. I still have 2 shots for the next round.
So you're saying you start the next round with 2 shots?
With whatever you have.
That's how I would interpret it as well. Plus,
I misunderstood.
If your timing is right, you're going to kill that team and have enough time to go and pop those ammo crates.
But I mean, how is that different than it is now?
I don't think that that's the way it is.
I can understand what you're saying, but I'm saying, isn't that how it works now? Why would they specify?
Because the team you killed would still have their special ammo carrying over to the second round now. So if they never took any shots, they would still have special. You still have to worry about getting sniped from that other team. Now, if it carries over, which the way I interpret it is it does, you go into that round 2 knowing that they have no special ammo. You don't have to worry about anything except no land beyond from a sniper perspective. And that opens up lanes on the map that you wouldn't have used otherwise.
But
you can now play that map more aggressively than otherwise.
If you die at any point, you lose your special.
No,
right?
You didn't used to lose your special.
No, I'm saying, under the new system, if you die at any point, you lose your special. So we all knew that already.
Okay, maybe I need to go back to say it again. The other team kills the first... All right, Team B kills Team A.
So they lose their special when they die.
Team A loses their special, but Team B keeps all their special.
Because they didn't die.
Yeah.
Right.
So now you're into round 2. Team B has a very strong advantage over Team A.
I understand what you're saying. I'm saying, why would they need to specify then players only start with special in the first round elimination when you know if you die, you lose your special?
But no, what they're saying is that you still start with special. Both teams will start with special.
Just like a normal Crucible match.
Right. But
if you die, you lose your special, just like a normal Crucible match.
Oh, I know, but that's what they were saying. They were saying basically it's the same thing in trials. Now you'll go in.
I can see that.
Okay.
So Velvet's telling us in the chat, so maybe we should get somebody to fact check it too, that yesterday they tweeted out that ammo does not carry over.
Yeah, and that's what I was just going to say.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, ammo does not carry over between rounds in elimination.
Right.
They specified this.
That's why I'm saying they had to specify it. Otherwise, they wouldn't need to say anything because it would just like every other Crucible event. But what they're saying is you only start the first round with special. Every other round, no special until you go find a crate of it.
Right, and this makes me pretty excited for trials. Like, I think
that changes everything.
This makes me not understand why they're even doing that then.
Well, that's why they specified it, because elimination is different than standard Crucible. Every round you start with 0 special. Like, just because you never got killed in the first round doesn't mean you're going to have special for the second round. That's what's different. That's why they said that.
Right, and it's going to stop the people rushing to get that special so that they can carry over with it to the next round. It's evening things out as it goes down the line.
Because otherwise it would snowball in trials. Everybody, the team that got the kill would also run and get all the special crates. And then they'd have even more powerful the next round. And then the same thing would happen the round after that, and you never get any kills on.
That was my concern. So now...
Right, well, that's why they said this.
Yeah, so now if you get into that second round and nobody has special, granted, there's going to be a lot more primary gunplay. I think there's going to be a lot more universal remote play. Heck, that's what I'm going to start doing. I'm going to start using universal remote again. And you're going to see people camping and waiting out for that crate to come.
That's where it's going to be. It's going to be really long games.
And you guys remember when it was like that, right? You remember when they had the old special ammo rules, and they were super long games because people waited for those crates.
If you listen to Holtzman and Miss 5000 Watts, they hate Scories right now because Scories makes long games. Okay, now imagine, because they haven't changed Scories, and you've got these people camping for secondary, probably on both teams, because a lot of people are, maybe I shouldn't say it like this, but this is how I feel. People aren't confident enough to play with primaries. You know, if you put me in a primary fight with anybody, I'll take anybody on. I'll even take on Hobie. All right, come on. Okay, maybe not Hovey, but you know, I feel that people are afraid to try to go against each other with primaries. So that means trials is going to suck. Trials is going to take so long.
Unless you can get the drop on them while they're waiting for it.
I mean, I would attack every time. I'd be like, screw it. I'm not going to wait for secondary. But I don't know. That I didn't see that tweet, so.
Connie's right. Weaker players will camp for special and abuse scories. You know what, though? It doesn't take a weaker player. You know, I could see strong players doing that too. I mean, it's really what's giving you the advantage. You know what I want to know is a lot of people were giving Bungie grief for not having any changes to Scory and sounding pretty surprised at the interest in change for Scory. What did people want to be changed? Like, what was it they were hoping was going to be the change? Was it going to take longer to give that boost to the special?
There were a lot of different theories that people
only
come up with, saying that you had to be moving, you couldn't stay in one spot, that you had to be really, really close to somebody, or you had to be in certain areas of a map in order to do it. I don't know. I don't necessarily agree with the problem with scories, but I understand in an elimination game that it is causing people to make the game slower. But at the same time, just like what you're saying, why don't these people rush? I would. Okay, they're camping in the back. I mean, Agrios and I used to do this shit all the time. You know, we would go in and we would play a match. Like, we especially did it last year with Crimson Doubles. People were camping in the back, and we were like, okay, they're just camping back there to get their super up because they're already down a match against us. We're not going to let them sit there and camp. Let's rush their ass. You know, that's what you do. That's the whole point. You know, if they're sitting there getting their super up, rush them, because it's not going to bring their super that high up. You know, you have the opportunity to do that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there really was an answer to fix that problem, but there were a lot of different ideas.
Yeah, Connor in the chat just had a really good idea too. What if they change scories so that it only boosts your allies' super when they're in the same proximity, but it boosts when you actually register a kill? So you have to actually kill something, and maybe it boosts it at a higher rate than what it's currently boosting it, because there's going to be a little bit more time delay. But then in PvE, where you're getting kills all the time, it's boosting all the time essentially. But in PvP, where you're not necessarily getting kills all the time, it won't be boosting at such a quick rate. And then just sitting back on the map camping really doesn't do anything, because you're not getting kills doing that.
Yeah.
You know, I was in a trials match once, and it was like 4-4. I don't remember who I was playing with. I don't remember if it was Xbox or PlayStation, but it was like 4-4, and like we had set up some kind of shop where we were ready for them no matter which direction they came, and they weren't showing up, and and somebody on my team was like, "Oh man, I bet they're camping scories like this is, you know, they're probably feeding into each other. They probably all have Scory." And so, you know, it was just feeding right into their supers, which was a bummer. And then we died because they did have supers. Bummer. What can you do? Moving on.
So there are a number of changes to the classes as well. Some of them were surprising. Some changes that weren't mentioned kind of surprised people. Once again, they may have been excluded until we get the full patch notes. We won't know. Some hunter changes included the Hungering Blade for Blade Dancer now immediately grants health instead of regenerating health. Shields no longer regenerate on kill. Throwing Knife now does solar damage, and Blink will be adjusted in the next update, but no details were mentioned. For Warlocks, they reduced Stormcaller melee range. Landfall now reduces total time in Storm Trance. And Blink will be adjusted in the next update, but no details were mentioned once again. Titans, they Juggernaut will disable quicker in midair. Juggernaut can no longer be activated in midair. For exotics, they changed. I made a few changes to different exotics. I mentioned earlier Shinobu's Vow will be changed, but they didn't mention the details. Young Wolf's Howl will be changed. They didn't mention the details. Same with Truth. And for Universal Remote, precision damage will only be active when aiming down the sights, but no other changes were actually mentioned for that. They also noted that they fixed certain weapons getting a free knee pads perk, increased slide distance. Does anybody know what weapons had the free knee pads perk?
I do not.
I do not as well.
I can't think of it. I don't use that perk, so I don't know. I don't keep an eye on it.
You know what?
What do you guys think about the class changes as they were mentioned, Remy? Is this going to affect the way you play?
It is not going to affect the way I play, but I am very excited that the Hunter knife is now going to be solar. It should have been solar this entire time. I don't know why it wasn't. I always figured it was like a bug or something, but I don't know. Here is my set. I'm selecting this focus, and my special is of an element, my grenade is of an element, and my melee is of an element. But the Hunter knife that I throw is not of an element. It just doesn't make sense. So I'm really excited about that. The reduced Stormcaller range sounds really cool. I'm really excited about that. Landfall reducing the total time in Storm Trance. I need to know if this is the landfall that you select on your setup, or if it also...
It's the same thing. The landfall perk that comes in the exotic armor unlocks the landfall perk on your tree.
I know, but it doesn't highlight it. You know, you can select one of those other options.
But it's giving it to you. So if it gives it to you, it's activating that perk in whatever that perk's form is.
Really, they should have just mentioned it right here. The Juggernaut. So it says it cannot be activated in midair. Does that mean that when you are in air, it won't show up like the? Yeah. So if you choose to get off the ground, you're foregoing this bonus.
Well, if it activates before you jump, it'll still be there, but it deactivates quicker. That's one of the notes.
Right. Okay.
And then the next note is if you're in there, it won't activate. So you can't get the bonus just because you're still moving after you jump off a ledge or up over something or whatnot. Yeah, you can no longer run up on a guardian and have it spawn in just as you're jumping up in their face, right, so that their shotgun blast doesn't kill you, but yours kills them.
Right.
That's good.
You see him coming a ways off and can anticipate it if it's going to activate. Be like, oh, there's a Titan running right at me on the ground. He's probably the Juggernaut shield up. I should back away.
I like it. But yeah, for the most part, this all sounds good. I did see a lot of people not understanding why they keep nerfing the Blade Dancer, which is funny and sad. I saw a lot of sad tweets about, oh, this is a problem over here, so why don't we nerf Blade Dancer instead?
Well, I think Bife put it well. He said, you never know. They did hundreds of hours of testing with this new meta. Maybe with the removal of special ammo, there's no way for the common person to be able to easily counter a Blade Dancer coming at them without any special ammo. So it suddenly became way too effective with the new rolls.
Man, that's crazy. Just exactly like those sliders that you're talking about. You mess with one, and you mess with all of them.
But it goes back to what everybody, and I mean everybody, has been saying in the community for a couple years now. They are sick to death of Bungie nerfing. We're not gonna nerf. We're not gonna nerf. We promise. We're not gonna nerf. What did they do? They nerfed.
Gray, what do you make of these changes?
Altered.
I want some of that wine that Sharks has. Looking good over there, Sharks. I like him. I think that Stormcaller melee range, it could probably use a little bit of a reduction there. I think that most people would agree that Stormcaller melee range is like the 4th best sniper in the game right now. Outside of that, I kind of like that precision damage on universal remote is only when aiming down sights. That's how I typically use my universal remote. I don't do a lot of hip fire, so that's going to also play to how I use that weapon, and other people who don't use that weapon won't find that same advantage. I don't really know what they could do to Truth. I didn't really think that there was a big issue with Truth as it stands. I don't see people complaining about Truth. Do you guys?
It's like, if you're gonna, like, it's kind of like seen as like the only go-to choice for rocket launching in trials and such.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're going to reduce the tracking on it or make it no longer proximity.
Yeah, perhaps. I guess, you know, I don't really mind that as being part of the heavy round
total ammo
trials. It doesn't seem to bother
maybe
me
reduce
too
the
much.
total ammo because it's one of the few that still holds substantially more than any other rocket launcher, thus making any other rocket launcher a poor choice. And they don't like
That's
that
true.
sort of thing.
Yep, that is true.
So what are they changing on it, or do we know?
We don't know. That's
I
one of
don't
the
know
things
yet.
they noted is going to have a change, but has yet to be mentioned.
Okay, because I used Truth for the longest time. Like I loved Truth. I loved that I could take, you know, in a hallway-sized section and shoot it in that direction, and basically, if they were anywhere near it, they were just dead. The tracking and the proximity was just fantastic. It was a lot of fun, and it made sure that every single time I picked up heavy, I was getting kills with it. I don't know what pushed me into changing to machine gun. I always felt that people were foolish for using machine guns just because there was still a dance involved. Like I could shoot a rocket down a lane and take off, and then if it killed somebody, cool. If it didn't, I'm still not dead. But with a machine gun, I still had to dance with somebody, and sometimes they're using a rocket themselves. So I don't know. I don't know if it was like a boost in skill, or if it was I just felt more comfortable. But switching to machine gun was a good choice because you can take out 6 people with one clip of a machine gun if you do it correctly.
Well, the right heavy, it's only 2 to 3 bullets. If you think about it, 2 bullets comes out almost as fast as a shot as a rocket launcher shoots. So if you're down a long hallway and you have a good aim assist heavy machine gun, you can fire 2 bullets and run almost as quickly as they can fire a rocket and run.
Totally.
Heavy machine gunners just tend to stand there still.
I actually have attempted to pull back not only my machine gun ammo usage, but ammo usage period, by having a feel for how long it's going to take to kill people. And there's been a couple of times where I've put enough shots into somebody that it should have killed them, but it didn't, and I've already disengaged and I'm looking somewhere else, and then they continue to shoot me and I die. So I've started to just really favor overkill. 1, 2, 3, 4, he's dead. 5, 6, 7, he's not getting back up. So it just makes me feel a little bit better about the encounter, because I definitely don't want to lose because I haven't spent enough ammo in that direction on that person or people. So I'm excited to see what the change is, though, mostly because I don't use it anymore. Do any of you guys use Truth?
I always did for trials.
Yeah, in trials, I still use it.
Interesting.
That's the only thing. Though.
Like now, I couldn't see me using it. It's not that I ran trials that much, but I mean, I got to figure I'd be running Invective or something of that nature at this point. So,
yeah, I mean, I swap it only for the heavy round.
Right, I was just gonna say, like, you can always swap for the heavy round, but I always forget about it.
I feel so confident in where I've come from, or where I've been, and where I'm going. I've deleted it. I don't even have it in my inventory anymore. Like, I just don't. I'm running that Silver Dread. Like, it's a mighty powerful one, or the Baron's Ambition. Either one of those has a pretty healthy amount of ammo. Feels good.
Everybody knows this trick, but with the upcoming change in the meta, I feel it's worth putting out there for anybody who may have overlooked it. If you need exotic shards, there's a way you can just simply generate them. You just need to have a current truth. You go to the vault, you buy yourself a truth. You go to the weaponsmith, buy a heavy booster, a heavy I forget the telemetry, and you pop that in, and you eat 6 motes of light. Break it down, you get 2 shards. You only put one in it to buy it. So as long as you have one shard, you can, for some glimmer and some motes of light, and you get motes of light out of it when you break it down, you can just cycle and grow your exotic shards over and over again. You may be out of those and need to pick up some to, pick out a new Soros regime up out of the exotic vault or whatnot, but, you feel I should put that out there.
This is not the hat I was expecting. But it will work. Okay, so why don't we... Anyone else have anything they want to add to this conversation? Let's do that, or we'll move right on to...
No, I do want to say something before we get into my tinfoil hat conversation. I am very, very surprised that they did not change some issues with certain things that have been very prevalent in PvP. And one of those big things, which they may have changed, but they still haven't changed a lot. We won't know until Tuesday, but we've kind of looked at the stream and kind of guessed that maybe they have done some changes. But those, they nerfed. Everybody's complaining. They nerfed the hunters to hell, right? Okay, the one thing that actually killed everybody the most, they did nothing with, and that's those damn grenades that they have. All right, why the hell didn't they do anything to those grenades?
We don't know that they haven't yet, though.
No, I know. That's what I said. That's what I said. Everything. I said, it looks. I went back and I looked at the stream, and it looks like they may potentially have reduced the range that skip grenades go. And if that's true, that is a big nerf. But that's big news. That should have been said on the stream. I'm sorry, but that is one of the. There's been two things that people have been complaining about.
Too controversial, and they want to leave it out until people have the distraction of the patch already being out.
The people make comments on their stream. Grow up. If that's what the problem is, grow up.
No.
Right?
Oh my God!
It's not to grow up. They want to wait until their audience is distracted by the patch already being out to say the worst things in the patch notes.
No, I agree with Agrios. I mean, I agree with you, Sharks. Grow up is probably a good idea, but I agree with Agrios.
Well, that is grown up, though. You want them to be like kids and just blurt out everything. They are being grown-up business people, and they're strategically telling you things they think you want to hear for the stream.
Wait a minute. It's a stream to tell you what they're changing.
No, it's a stream to tell you what they think you want to hear to make you like it.
Okay, what are the two things? What are the two things that this community, the Destiny community, have been clamoring for months and months and months? Shotguns and skip grenades.
And you're not going to like the changes they made, so they want to wait till you're really distracted to tell you.
Sharks is about to burst into the Incredible Hulk, but it's going to match his green screen, so all we're going to see is a beard and some red eyes.
A big purple beard.
I'm going to drink my wine. Forget it. I don't care. Let's go on to the next one.
All right, moving on.
Okay, moving on. So, big news this week. Activision earnings call took place earlier today. Destiny 2 appears to be on track for fall of 2017. They said that Destiny showed steady engagement in Year 3. They referred to the eager fan base. They also referred to content seasons to follow the launch. Props to a user named Doug during the question and answer. They were asked for more info, and they confirmed specifically fall of 2017. They weren't even going to give us that much if it weren't for Doug. So, go Doug.
Well, they did say. Okay, so I want to say we're going to get into a quote unquote leak that we'll talk about in a minute. But that leak and the actual Activision earnings call said the end of the year, and I actually believe, even based off of saying fall and saying the end of the year, that is not going to be in September. Okay, first off, September, fall doesn't start until September 22nd. Okay? Second, all right, they said that in that earnings call that the two IPs that are going to make them money, which is Call of Duty and Destiny 2, are not going to start making them money until basically the fourth quarter and into the first quarter of 2018. Okay, so I don't think we're going to be getting a September release this time. There's my tinfoil hat.
I absolutely agree with you, Shark. I'm going to go ahead and say this right now. I'm calling it a December release.
December or November.
And, you know, let's just go ahead and get into this next part right here, because this is going to have impact on what I'm going to say about this. Right after the earnings call came out, an article by Jason Schreier, who is, I would say, quite respected for having very, very accurate early information on Destiny for us so far. In a Kotaku article he wrote about the confirmed fall of 2017 release of Destiny 2, he let us know that if Bungie misses this year for Destiny 2, Activision is awarded a hefty chunk of the independent studio's stock, according to two sources familiar with goings-on at Bungie. Bungie's employee stock vesting schedule is also based on game releases, including Destiny 2, which gives them major incentives to get a sequel out this year. Now, that said, I don't think that Bungie probably even wants to release Destiny 2 this year. I think they have to. I think if they had the option, it would be pushed back into spring or even later of 2018. I'm scared at what this means for Destiny 2. And I'm going to call a December release in time to be, you know, out on the shelves for Christmas. They don't need to be out in time for Black Friday. No one needs to buy this game on sale. Everybody's going to pay full price and be happy about it that wants to get it. So I'm calling a December release in time for Christmas because, you know, you want to have it out in time for Christmas. And because that's as late as they can possibly go without losing out on this and still get to work on Destiny 2 as long as possible.
Okay, so I feel they could still hit their September window. Like I understand why people would think that because they haven't started promoting it, that it's less likely for it to have been in September. But I feel like if they do want to release it, then we've discussed it previously, how you're basically able to double dip, and the people who really want it will pick it up in September, October, November, and then December is holidays, and so you're basically getting, you know, two big shots in the 1 year. I feel I just have nothing but faith in Bungie right now. Like I really honestly feel like they released Destiny 1. They knew what they needed to do to Destiny 1 to make it awesome. And I feel like once they pushed that out, there was people who were still working on, you know, maybe some of the DLC, but I feel like they started into Destiny 2 at least by the time Destiny 1 was launched. I feel I have nothing but faith in what they're doing, especially because it's not like the devil just showed up and said, "Oh, by the way, if you don't get this game out by the end of this year, we're taking a hefty chunk of your stocks." This has all been known. This has all been known since probably they signed those papers. Like I feel like this is a known variable, and even if Destiny 2 is released in the same shape that Destiny was in relation to Destiny 1, Destiny 2 is going to kick ass. Destiny 2 is going to kick ass. Like I have nothing but faith in this studio. Like and I feel like the more we don't hear about it, it's just the more that they're working on. You know, it's there's a difference between substance and, you know, they're not out there saying, "Oh man, Destiny 2, it's going to be the best thing you've ever played." They're just working on it. You know, they're not trying to hype it up. It is going to be the hype itself. I have nothing but faith in Bungie. Like I feel like everything they've done has a really beautiful gold stamp of awesomeness. And even Destiny in the way it was released, you know, and from what it could have been if they had spent more time on it, like with the quest system, like just that difference alone was huge. Just that difference alone was huge. If Destiny had launched with that quest system, it would have been so much fuller of a game. You know, one of the biggest complaints I heard was that people didn't really know what they were doing next. You know, they didn't really know where they were going or what they were doing. It was a little bit more difficult. But if you have this page that's, okay, well, here is this next mission that you're going to go on for this quest. Like, it was really beautiful. I feel like worst case scenario, the game comes out in the same shape that Destiny was in relation. And so we'll just get some updates that really kick ass after that. I think it's going to be fantastic. I can't wait to see it. Nothing but faith. You know, Bungie people who are listening, nothing but faith. You guys are kicking ass, and I understand that that's the reason why you're not talking about any of this. Is because you want to make sure that everything that you say comes out. And that's really the only way to do it. It's really the only way to do it. You can't come out and make a bunch of promises. I want Forge mode. I want a bunch more vault space. I want more vehicles. I want vehicles that carry 2 people so that I can shoot while somebody else is driving. Like, I want a ton of shit. But I understand. You can't make promises before you know that it's going to happen. So, Gray, what do you think about this?
So I'm trying to really digest the statement that was reported saying that Activision is awarded a hefty chunk of the independent studio stock, according to 2 sources familiar going on at Bungie. That's an interesting contract term. That means that Bungie struck a deal, or part of their deal with Activision basically said, we're going to put our company's equity on the line and say, if we can't deliver on our timeline, you get to own more of our company. If that is the case, then I think we all hope that Bungie can hit their timeline. Because I think the last thing that we want is Activision having more influence, more power over what that studio essentially has to do. That's my opinion as far as wanting less Activision influence, really as least amount of Activision influence as possible, and letting Bungie operate as Bungie operates. But that's kind of an odd deal. I have to review quite a few contracts as part of my day-to-day work, and that's putting something on the line that isn't very typical, at least in my industry, to put on the line to meet on certain timelines. The second part of the statement makes sense about Bungie employees' stocks being vested. That's very common, to have your incentive-based structure be metric-based, timeline-based. And yeah, those employees are going to want to get their bonus, and their bonus in this case is based on the release of Destiny 2 in their stock options. And so I think that's going to be a huge driver. I think we're very likely to see that happen.
You never know how hard it was for Bungie to get, get someone to cut them a deal while allowing them the liberties that they wanted. I think that's the real issue. Bungie bought themselves out of Microsoft's control because they wanted to maintain a certain level of control over their own games. And I feel like, Bungie's on their own now. They don't have the massive support of Microsoft that you've had for years to get things done. And they also won't relinquish this sort of control that that publishers normally have over developers that are working on games, that are going to be a title of theirs. And I feel like that's probably where this was born, as a type of collateral saying, hey, we know we're no longer with Microsoft. We know we have a brand new, totally untested thing, and we need $500 million to make it. What can we do to get you to give us that $500 million and trust us to have full creative control of this project?
I feel like the only thing that doesn't make sense to me is I feel like there's a conflict of interest here. I feel like, how could Activision actively want Bungie to do good and well if when their failure means that they get a bigger cut of the stock? Like, that just doesn't sound right.
Well, here's the thing, though. Think of how much money they could have made investing that $500 million elsewhere in these 2 years. So if Bungie doesn't deliver on a game that's going to make them profit from that $500 million, make that $500 million back plus profit in a certain reasonable amount of time, then it's a bad investment. So if they can't make their money that way, they're getting their money some other way. They're going to start taking control of Bungie so that they have control of their money in the situation.
So I just wanted to add that I agree with what Gray is saying, except for it's not just Activision that I don't want to have more control over the studio. It's really any outside influence. Like I realize that Bungie has taken their sweet time on what they're doing, but to be honest, I like Activision. I don't feel like they're running a blood diamond deal. Like they're a company that aims to make money, and they're doing that through certain ways. And I don't feel like they have ill intent. I don't feel like the people that are involved with that business are bad people. I just feel like Bungie is going to produce their best work if they are the ones that are calling the majority of the shots, like all of the shots. I look at this sometimes like I would like Nine Inch Nails to make me an industrial album. If I could just go up to Trent Reznor and say, hey, here's $500 million. I want you to make a really sweet, make the Downward Spiral 2. I would want him to do that. But what I would probably get is whatever the hell he wants to put out. And I'm either going to like that or I'm not. And judging by his later albums, I'm probably not going to like it. Sorry, Trent.
that is not an allegory about Destiny 2 at all, guys. We're going to love Destiny 2. Don't worry.
Yeah. I have no doubt that Destiny 2 is going to be fantastic, and it really makes sense. It really makes sense for Bungie to have said, hey, check this out. If we don't give you these games in this time, you can have a chunk of these times because you're betting against yourself. Can we do this? We're going to do this. It's going to be great. I think that what we're looking at right now is that the core of the game is fantastic, but they want to ship it with a bunch of other cool stuff too. Like Bungie are a bunch of gamers, and they want to play the same stuff we want to play. They want to have an awesome game. They want to have a good time. I don't know.
My other thought on it, Remy, before we move on to Sharks, is I'm pretty comfortable that Bungie is meeting or exceeding their timeline right now. And I say that because if you're in a position, especially as a higher level manager in that company, where a huge part of your revenue, your personal revenue, is going to be based on this game being released in 2017, you're going to redirect your resources to focusing on Destiny 2, and you're going to give up on updates on Destiny 1. I mean, at this point where you're talking you're 7, 8, 9 months away, you're going to be throwing the kitchen sink at this to get it done within that timeline if you're anywhere close to not making it. Because you want to make sure that you can meet your incentive
from the PlayStation Network, though, the microtransactions, their money they're making from Destiny currently is nothing to sneeze at.
It's true, but there's nothing to say that you would... there's nothing that would say that you wouldn't still redirect that staff and that resources to trying to make sure that you can meet this timeline, even if you're leaving some money on the table. One of the problems with incentive-based bonus structures is it makes you make all the wrong decisions. It might be actually bad for Activision to make them hold this timeline in the long term, but because this is the structure that's been set, you do what you have to. So the fact that they're putting energy into all the things that they're doing with Destiny 1 right now shows me that they're going to be fine for this timeline for Destiny 2. If things went radio silent on Destiny 1, that's where I'd start to be concerned about Destiny 2 coming out.
I agree.
Well, I'm not concerned about coming out, but I don't see it coming out earlier than December. And my concern is not whether or not they can get it out by then, but is what they know they can get out by then and will deliver by then what they want to be delivering.
You know what I want to know?
The 10 people they're leaving back on the Destiny 1 live team to whip this stuff up, are those guys really going to make any difference at all and getting so much more content into what they know they can deliver by December? Like, if they had another 6 months to develop, would we get a much, much, much better Destiny 2? But they didn't have that time to put into it. And they're going to deliver a Destiny 2, and it'll probably be awesome, but, Would it be much awesomer if they knew now they had 6 more months to deliver it?
Well, I think that what we're looking at is exactly what Destiny 1 is. We're still going to get what you're talking about, you know? If the only difference is that we're going to get Destiny 2 whenever it comes out, and then, like you said, 6 months later, we're going to get whatever Destiny 2 that was. Like, it's going to be an update to the core of the game, exactly like Destiny 1. They put out a game, and then they dropped in some more mechanics that made it more palatable.
So you're saying they plan on continue to under-deliver content?
Yeah, yeah, but it's gonna show up as regular updates.
And we're gonna love it.
Yeah, and we're gonna love it.
I've sat back and I've listened to the three of you throw out all this speculation. All right, now first off, what I want to say is during the earnings call. Oh.
Sharks.
Yeah, thanks. Okay, so now, while I'm sitting here listening to all of you, I had to get, I had my spin, my spin foil hat on, but I thought I better get my spin foil beard on too. Okay, to really throw this in there. Okay, so during the earnings call, we had a total of, and I had it written down. Where is it?
97 grilled cheese sandwiches.
No. 3 minutes. 3 minutes of Destiny talk. 3 whole minutes out of 60 minutes. 3 minutes of Destiny talk. Okay. Now, one of the things that they said was that they are basically, and we know this from quote unquote leaks and all this other information that we have gotten over a long period of time. They are rewriting the engine for Destiny 2. Destiny 2 is going to be completely different engine and everything than Destiny 1. Okay. We also know, based off of past earning calls, that they have been working on this for years. Not a year, for years. Okay. Now, if you take all this into consideration, people are freaking out after this earnings call, and they're saying, "Oh my goodness, look at what Jason has put down," and they're all worried they're going to have to kick this game out before the end of the year so that they don't lose their money and all this stuff. Okay, even if that information is true, Bungie has been working on the next installment of Destiny for a very, very, very long time. They are ready to go, okay? They're ready to kick it out. We're not going to be getting something that's half-assed. This isn't like what happened when Destiny Vanilla was launched, where there was a whole upheaval with everything at Bungie, and they fired everybody, and they had to get rid of this and get rid of that and bring in a new story. Okay, we already know that they've been working. I mean, shit. Luke Smith has been working solely on the new game since, when was it? A long time ago. Okay?
It was a long time ago.
Yeah, so we shouldn't worry about what's going to happen. Okay, now as far as when it's going to be released, okay, like I say, this is just guesses, but I agree with Agrios. I think later on in the year, November, December release, for 2 reasons. One, because basically during the earnings call, they said that they were not going to be making money until the end of the year. They weren't talking about the quarterly reports. They were saying the end of the year or into 2018. Okay, so you're not talking about a September release for a video game to make money all the way into 2018. That's too long of a period of time. You're talking about holiday season where they're going to really push all that. The other thing, and this kind of goes against something that I have been kind of saying for a long time. I said, I could see them releasing in September, even though that's only 3 months from E3. That's not very much time, people say, for promotion. It's enough time. Well, if you push it back to November and you start talking about it at E3 or just prior, because that's probably what Bungie's going to do. They're going to do a stream before, then they're going to have some kind of release at E3 and maybe even playable demos or who knows what. All right, then you're talking November, December, 4, 5, 6 months then That's a lot of promotion time. Right? Now, the other thing that they talked about, now we know that there's going to be a new game system. They also implied that it's going to be very, very different for everybody. They said that old Guardians that have put in hundreds of hours are going to be really excited to go in and play this new game. This, everything's going to be new. But the old people that left, that basically what he was saying is the people that didn't enjoy it before, they're going to want to come and try this new game. Everything's going to be new. So, and that kind of goes against, bringing forward anything. If it's really going to be new, say goodbye to all your gear, Remy. But anyways, that's my tinfoil hat and tinfoil beard comments for the night.
I'm coming more and more around to the idea that this is just going to be... It's going to be something much like when you had to select to import your character from last gen to current gen. Like, I feel like it's going to be, here is a point in time where you're exporting your character to Destiny 2. And I really feel like a lot of stuff is coming with us. Either a lot of stuff or absolutely nothing. Some people are talking about just emblems or just certain emblems, but like we've had conversations with Agrios, he keeps saying if you bring one, there's no reason you wouldn't bring them all. Like guns, for instance. I was having this conversation with Flounder. It's the idea that I could just load up my Guardian with whatever I could carry and import that. That sounds great. But there would have to be an iteration for each weapon, so they would have to have this going into the next game for all weapons because you don't know what people are going to be bringing. And I feel like that's doable. Like, a lot of people are saying that there has to be a complete wipe. I don't feel like there has to be a complete wipe. I almost completely stopped using year one gear when we moved into this next tier of light level. If everything was stuck at 170, I ended up just stopped using it. I used Vision of Confluence almost exclusively.
Okay, the argument I'm going to pose to you, though, is if this is okay, we're going off of kind of innuendos, tinfoil stuff. If what they're saying at the Activision earnings call is that this is a new game and it's going to draw in new people and people that left because, they didn't say this, but basically people left because they weren't happy. That's why they didn't stay and play more. If you bring forward all the old stuff, are people going to want to come to that? Because that's the same old thing.
So I've decided that inside me, I would be happy if all that was brought over were like kiosk items. Like, I could see how kiosk items would carry over. But I also want things like my strange coins. Like that right there represents basically the only thing that is my body of work. Is the strange coins and the motes of light. I am spending those, but at some point
you just don't have none left by the time Destiny 2 rolls around.
At some point, you just don't have anything left to buy.
I think there's two problems. Like, either there's a new engine, like completely, like the whole thing is reworked so that they can create stuff and like deliver content better and all that stuff, and the problem, if that's the case, is you're going to have a whole development team sit there and literally rebuild all the guns from Destiny 1 from the ground up in this new game development environment so that the information from your old characters can, they can have them when that character comes into Destiny 2. Or it's the same sort of engine structure. They have more space and more room, since they don't have to work with PlayStation 3 and Xbox 360 anymore. But it's the same engine and everything like that, and they have vault space issues because of the way the memory works. And importing an iteration of every single gun it's in existence in Destiny so that people can take even just what's on their Guardian into Destiny 2 or what's in their vaults or anything like that wouldn't really be feasible because you're running into that memory cap issue.
Yeah, I don't feel like they're going to have a problem with that memory cap issue. I feel like we're looking at, like you're saying, as soon as they cut off last gen,
But they have now. Why couldn't they just give us an extra page of vault space?
I think that because of the way it was made, this is just the world that we're living in.
Well, no, we're talking about base architecture. So that's what I'm saying. If they changed the entire base architecture of the system up, somebody's going to have to go in there and rebuild all these weapons and everything from scratch.
Let me give you an example.
They've been doing that for 2 years. It's a new game. When you make something new, you start from scratch.
But listen, okay, so check this out.
True. Like, everybody uses Unreal Engine 3 or 4 or whatever it is that's out now, and everybody, like, all these games are designed in Unreal Engine. If they went and made the sequel to their last game in something other than Unreal Engine, it wouldn't be very easy just to import the stuff from the one game to the next game. But it would be if they were both built on Unreal Engine. So that's what I'm saying, is if Destiny builds a different Destiny engine for Destiny 2, someone's going to have to recreate these guns rather than just import them.
I don't think so, because check this out. It's all done on their computers, right? Like, all of these games weren't made on a console. They were made on computers. Okay, so check this out.
It has to do with the engine it was made in. Like, okay, like, Unreal Engine saying, like, Windows as opposed to like, Macintosh.
Okay.
So, like, you can't just... A program that runs on Windows won't necessarily run on Macintosh. Well, if you have your first game was made on Unreal Engine, and the next game was made on a different engine than Unreal Engine, those programs and things that you've created for the first one don't necessarily just run on the next one.
Okay, so check this out. There's a game called Terraria. It is a 2D platformer in the style of, like, 16-bit Nintendo games, and it is like Minecraft. I made a world in the 360. I uploaded that world to the cloud, and then I downloaded it into the Xbox One version of Terraria.
Because they both probably run on the same engine.
Okay,
they both
but the
probably
game
run on their version of Unreal Engine 3 or whatever.
Okay, but so how do we know that they're not running? Okay, here's Bungie Destiny.
Because if they're running on the same engine as Destiny 1, then they're going to run into the same sort of issues they're running into now.
They're not.
Listen.
They said they have made a new engine for the new game.
Okay, but here's the thing. Here's the thing.
I don't remember them saying that, Sharks.
Making video games is magic, okay? They can do whatever the hell they want to do in video games. Whatever they want to. Period. I know that there's hiccups, and I know that there's bumps in the road, but whatever Bungie wants to do is what they're going to do. Before we go, I want to make sure everyone's had their fill of Destiny conversation. Gray, is there anything that you want to talk about before we go?
I think that there will be our fan favorite games in Destiny 2, but we won't start with anything. The great thing about Destiny being a looter shooter is that you earn your loot, so I don't necessarily want it just handed over, imported from my old character. I want to earn it again. I want to have that experience. I want to have the fun of getting him back.
Getting him back. That's something we should talk about later. Sharks, is there anything you want to say before we go?
Yes, the one thing I want to say is everybody out there realize that this time of year it's very, very dry, and people think that the second you hear a leak that it's all real, and we didn't get to that today.
I was actually going to say it for my part.
Okay, but there are going to be lots and lots and lots of leaks and information out there that isn't real. Enjoy it, but don't necessarily believe it. That's all I want to say.
Agrios.
So, to continue on what Sharks is saying, we saw a leak on the Reddit this week. Very elaborate. Took in a lot of information we already know. Made us want to believe it. They proclaimed Destiny 2 as being called the Forge of Hope. And Irk McGurk quickly tweeted out there, Forge of Nope. So, it was later squashed as definitely being a made-up leak. Like Shark says, make sure you take everything with a grain of salt and try to get some sort of confirmation on what's going on. It's fun to dream, but don't get too wrapped up in the hype if you don't know it's real.
Excellent. Okay, so then that wraps up this episode. Shout-outs starting with Gray.
Shout-out this week's goes to the man above me, Sharks 3D Man. That sounded kind of weird. At least I said above and not above. He's not the man on top of me. He's the man above me. Sharks has the best props right? Every week. Sharks has the best props, so my shout out goes to him, the man on top of me.
Sharks.
I don't know if I can respond now. Okay, all right. My shout out it actually goes to Mark Square. I know I talked about this a while ago. I did a thing with Mark, and we were doing he does streams and gives away stuff, and my little Galacorn came in the mail finally. So shout out to him because I actually got it, and it's going up on my wall.
Awesome, Agrios.
Shout out to Doug from the earnings call. Put the pressure on.
Yeah, I like that a lot too. My shout out goes to SDF River. I'm really glad that we could join you in some Wrath of the Machine, and I feel like I feel your want to play video games, and I think it's really great that you're just doing what you have to do. To survive. Some people like me would just take the low road and just play video games all the time anyways, showing up late for work. Oh, honey, don't wait up for me. I've got to clean the dishes, and then just playing a bunch of video games. And you're just really keeping your nose down and getting done what you need to do. Hopefully we can get you back on the show. Maybe around the time Destiny 2 comes out. Like maybe that's what it'll have to be, is he will just be bubbling up with information, and we'll have to come back at least for a couple of episodes.
Hopefully the D2 announcement, we can get him back for that. Let's shoot for that, the D2 announcement.
You know what? Let's get him on. Let's start planting that seed right now. Like let's talk to him and tell him that that's our plan is to try and get him on for the D2 announcement. Okay, that wraps up episode 120. We would like to thank everyone listening for tuning in. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you have any suggestions for topics to be discussed on the show, or have any comments on something that has already been covered, please leave them in the comments below or send them to feedback@guardian1.net. And we will see you next week.